Go through with your letting agent or your own records and check this stuff is in place. If it's not, you've got big problems and you're not going to get the eviction. What will happen is it will go to court, it will go through the process, it won't get thrown out of court until you're in front of the judge, and the judge is itching to just get rid of this case quickly because that shortens their day. They don't want to have long hearings. They want to get rid of stuff as quickly as they can. If paperwork isn't in place, they don't want lots of landlords causing problems, so they'll just say, yeah, get out of here, and you might go back to the beginning. For some of them, you could take your tenant to court thinking you're going to get an eviction, find out you don't have a key document in place, and then you get a 40 grand fine. So this is very important. Don't have this stuff in place. There's a high probability that when it actually gets to court, you're going to get your case thrown out. Now that's a problem because
there are these groups on Telegram and other places, but there's Telegram groups I'm talking about, who are helping tenants avoid eviction. I must say, in unscrupulous ways, I am not condoning this. I am not supporting this. I am not commenting on the morality of this. I am just reporting on the situation. The situation is, things have changed so much now that everything's in favour of the tenant. Everything is against the landlord. It's very foolish to be a landlord in this environment. The poor landlords, I feel so sorry for them. If a tenant stops paying rent, and there's a big movement now for tenants to stop paying rent, stop paying into the system, stop paying all these bills, stop paying rent. Some of them are doing it to join the freedom fighting movement. Some are doing it like stick one finger up to the man. Some are doing it because they have no choice. They can't afford the high rents. Some are doing it out of choice. Some are doing it not out of choice. And if a tenant stops paying rent, it can take months, like several months, for the landlord to get ahead in the queue. There's a backlog in the courts. So what happens? The tenant stops paying rent. First month it's due, it stops coming. The landlord writes them, contacts them. They can't contact the tenant. There's nothing the landlord can do. The second month, they keep trying to contact them and going around there. But the tenant says, that's pestering me. They're not allowed to go around there. The third month goes by. After 3 months rent arrears, the landlord can then issue a formal notice that they are going to be starting an eviction process. 3 months, 90 days. The tenant could then pay rent again, just 1 month, and the landlord cannot start the eviction process. The tenant has got 3 months in the bag, and they will just from then on pay rent every month. There's 3 months in arrears, but no more than 3 months. The landlord cannot start an eviction process. But these movements on Telegram are saying, still don't pay your rent, even after 3 months, don't pay anymore. Stop paying into the system, stick one finger up to the man. So after another 28 days after that, let's just call it 4 months. So after 3 months, the landlord issues a notice that they're going to start eviction proceedings. They have to wait 28 days after that. So 4 months now, 4 months in arrears, the landlord can start the eviction process by putting their name down to try and get a hearing. And the long line is getting longer. It will be several months from that point, several months. There's a backlog in the courts. The courts hate dealing with these cases. There's so many. The numbers of cases are growing and growing. It's staggering. Now, if the tenant still doesn't pay all that time, let's just say several months later. We don't know how long it is, but it could be several months later. They get a date for a hearing. Okay. Now, these groups on Telegram are helping tenants to fight the landlord. As I said, I'm not condoning this. I'm reporting on the situation. I think it's important to understand the situation. To understand the situation, there's so many things. There's like 7 key things that the landlord has to have got in place. They've got to cross every T, dot every I. There's several key things. Now, even at this point, imagine the landlord has got all these seven vital things in place. And there's more than 7. There's several vital things they have to have in place. The tenant can say, no, the landlord didn't have these things in place. And the landlord has got to prove it. Yes, I have. Look, here's my proof. And the tenant says that is a fake document, or that is fake. Or they say, no, the smoke alarms or the this was not in place. The CO2 monitors, they were not in place. They're not in the property. And the landlord said, yes, they are. I've got proof. Look, they were installed in 27th of August, 2025 or whatever. I've got proof. And the tenant says, no, that must be fake because the smoke alarms are not there. They come up with all these objections. Now, it is so unfair on the landlord. It is so unfair. Many times, the judge, it's his word against it. It's the tenant's word against the landlord's. The landlord says, I've got proof that these things are all in place. The tenant says that must be fake, or they're not there. They're not there now. The smoke alarms aren't there now. And the judge just sides with the tenant because they just want to go home, really. Let's be fair. They're not interested in justice. They're not interested in fair. It's all corrupt. We know it's all corrupt. We know that. The whole system is a sham. We know that. Many times, the judge just throws it out. And the landlord is absolutely pulling their hair out. They have to start all over again. Even if the landlord has got all these things in place, still, the tenant can put up objections and challenge the landlord's proof, saying that must be fake. That's not true. There's all sorts of ways that these Telegram groups are helping tenants to challenge in court. And it seems to be most times the landlord loses and they've got to start all over again. A whole new several months in the line, get to the back of the queue, start again for another eviction. All the time the tenant is living there rent free. Now, in the small percentage of times where the landlord does actually get an eviction order, they have crossed every T, they have dotted every I, and the judge sides with the landlord, even though the tenant says, no, those things are not in place. But the judge doesn't believe the tenant. The judge believes the landlord. He's got all of his paperwork in place. And the tenant says, those are fake. They are not true. The smoke alarms aren't there. CO2 monitors aren't there. The EPC rating wasn't done, or whatever. All these several different things. Gas safety certificate, electrical safety certificate, all these things. Say the judge does side with the landlord. Now, the landlord's got an eviction order. He has to wait a month or so. I think he's got to wait, give the tenant however long, I don't know, to get out. The tenant still doesn't get out. Now the landlord has got to try and get bailiffs, high court bailiffs, official bailiffs. It's expensive for the landlord. Oh, and before I get to that stage, here's the thing. What I've been hearing about on Telegram, at the stage when it goes to court, after several months, it goes to court. Well, they got a date for the hearing, say like 31st of next month, we're going to court. The tenant says to the landlord, in a nice, respectful way, you are risking getting fined £40,000. There's several of these key things the landlord has to prove. This is why I feel so sorry for landlords. Whatever you do, do not be a landlord. It's a nightmare if you're a landlord. And the tenant says, look, I'm going to claim you haven't done these things. You can't prove these things. You're risking a £40,000 fine. And that is true. £40,000 fine on each one of these several things. It could be hundreds of thousands of pounds fines if the judge sides with the tenant when the tenant says, no, these things are not in place. This is an absolutely ridiculous situation. It's absurd. Even if the landlord has dotted every I and crossed every T and got all the several things in place, smoke alarm, CO2 monitors, all in place, the tenant says, no, they're not. And the landlord says, I can prove they are. Look, I paid this. I got a receipt for having them installed this day. The tenant says, well, they're not there now. They were not there when I moved in. They're not there now. The landlord could be fined £40,000 for each one of these breaches. It is an untenable situation. Whatever you do, don't be a landlord. The way the situation is now, all the things are encouraging people not to be a landlord. Do not be a landlord, whatever you do. Get out of it. Don't be a landlord. These poor landlords, I would feel so sorry for them. Not only are they not able to get their tenant out, but they're getting £40,000 fine for every one of the breaches. The things they didn't get in place, get correct now. It's ridiculous. But imagine that it does all go smooth and they do get an eviction notice. The tenant still doesn't move out, and councils are telling tenants not to move out. The advice is, look, we can't house you. All councils are struggling. There's much more demand than there is supply, and they give priority to the illegal people who are coming over illegally. They're being shepherded over on inflatable boats from France. This time of year, the weather's good. It's easy crossing. There's so many people coming over. They're given priority over British people. The council's got to put them up first. British people are being told to stay in their homes, even if they're not paying rent, stay there. So they've got to wait for a bailiff. Now, the waiting times for bailiffs, it could be a year or a year and a half. It could be 18 months. So after all that, going through to get a court case through the backlog, they get to the front of the backlog, even if they win, it's unlikely they will win, but even if they win, then they've got a year or more trying to wait for a bailiff. There's a shortage of bailiffs. Nobody wants to do that job. They are having crap, excrement and urine thrown over them by an unknown person that nobody can prove who did it from an upstairs window. If they try and break in, this is happening. This is happening on Telegram. These groups are teaching other techniques as well for tenants to stay in their homes without paying rent, stay in your home. If you do get bailiffs coming around, there's things they can do to delay it even more. But it takes a long time. It could be a year or 18 months for actually to get the bailiff to come round. And even after that, even at that point, some are forcibly evicted. They smash the door in with a battering ram, or the locksmith gets through, forceful entry, picks the people up, like literally carries them outside, puts them down on the street outside, and then they barricade the home. They put shutters on all the windows, doors, they put steel big things over the doors, barricade it all up. Now, the tenant's got nowhere to go. The council will not house them. They will not. They just can't. There's too many. The tenant will often got no choice but to break back in. Once all the bailiffs have gone, the agent's gone, the landlord's all gone, the tenant goes and breaks back in upstairs windows at the weakest point. Or maybe they had a plan for that. They knew that the bailiffs are going to be boarding up the property, and they had a plan. They've cut a hole somewhere or some other way to get back into the property once the bailiffs have gone. This is happening. And now that is illegal. Yes, it is. They're breaking the law. They've been evicted. But the poor landlord is pulling his hair out. And what is oftentimes happening now, tenants are saying to the landlords, look, if you really want me to move out, I'll move out for this much, £7,000 cash, or whatever it is, £4,000 cash. You give me cash in envelope, it'll be cheaper for you than waiting for the bailiffs, which could take a year and a half. If you give me that cash, I will move out without smashing the place up. Because that's the other thing. If the tenant is really unhappy with the landlord, they take a hammer to all the plug sockets, all the plumbing, all the, do thousands, tens of thousands of pounds worth of damage to the property. It's a horrible situation. I am just reporting on this horrible situation, an untenable situation. If there's one thing anybody should learn from paying attention to the situation now since the Renters' Rights Act, do not be a landlord. If you are a landlord, get out. Whatever you do, sell now. I know property prices are falling. It's very hard to sell. The only way to sell a property now is to undercut by a long way. You've got to drastically, aggressively reduce the price to find a buyer. And even then, the buyer is probably going to knock you down even more. But you have to. Next year, it's going to be even lower. Whatever you do, sell property now. Whatever you do, don't be a landlord. And keep an eye on these groups. Keep an eye on what's happening. I think it is very wise in this environment to understand what is happening. I'm not condoning it, but whatever you do, don't be a property owner. Property prices are falling. Do not be a landlord. It is a nightmare situation if you're a landlord. Your best situation is to be a tenant. Tenants have all the power. If you're a tenant and you're in a situation, you're in a property, understand it is extremely difficult, almost impossible for the landlord to get you out. You're in a position of strength. You can negotiate a much better. I think a lot of landlords still haven't fully grasped the situation, how they have no power. And it will take them a long time and a lot of effort and a lot of risk to evict tenants who are in arrears for years. They can go a couple of years of living there rent-free, and it's a huge risk on the landlord. Even if they have got everything exactly in place, tenants are claiming that one or two things are not in place, and no matter how much the landlord can prove it, the tenant said that must be fake because that's not the case. The judge might decide to side with the tenant, which means the landlord gets a £40,000 fine for each of these 7 different things that they got wrong, that the judge decided, no, you can't prove that. That must be a fake document. The tenant says you haven't done that. They didn't receive this. They haven't got smoke alarms. They haven't got CO2. They haven't got these things. And the landlord is in a real tough decision to try and prove that. Well, you won't let me in. If the tenants removed them, that's not my fault. If the tenant says he didn't remove them, he must have not. It's a ridiculous situation. It is absolutely horrific. Do not be a landlord. Do not be a property owner. You're much better off being a tenant. You have all the power. Negotiate a lower rent. You can negotiate. Get involved with these groups on Telegram.
Don't have this stuff in place, there's a high probability that when it actually gets to court, you're going to get your case thrown out. Now that's a problem, because for some of them, you could take your tenant to court thinking you're going to get an eviction, find out you don't have a key document in place, and then you get a 40 grand fine. So this is very important. Go through with your letting agent or your own records and check this stuff is in place. If it's not, you've got big problems and you're not going to get the eviction. What will happen is it will go to court, it will go through the process, it won't get thrown out of court until you're in front of the judge, and the judge is itching to just get rid of this case quickly because that shortens their day. They don't want to have long hearings. They want to get rid of stuff as quickly as they can. If paperwork isn't in place, they don't want lots of landlords causing problems, so they'll just say, yeah, get out of here, and you might go back to the beginning.